The Man Booker Prize is arguably the most prestigious award in the literary world. The annual prize promotes the finest in fiction and has the power to transform the fortunes of the authors and the publishers.
That certainly is true. We're joined now by Stephen Boylan of Eason to discuss who might win the big Man Booker Prize this year. Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, it is a huge prize. £50,000, British pounds, is the prize money. But I guess it's not really the prize money. It's what you get afterwards as an author. You are a worldwide seller after that.
It's a huge profile boost for any author who wins the prize, and the amount of sales that they get on top of the prize money is, I think, it's really what a lot of authors are after. The sales bump that you get is absolutely enormous.
Huge. Yeah. Now, it's changed in the last couple of years, and now American authors can also enter and other international authors. Tell us a little bit about the first-time American authors that we can see this year in the shortlist.
On the shortlist, there's two American authors. The first one is Joshua Ferris. He's written his third novel, To Rise Again at a Decent Hour, and the other book is We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves, which is by Karen Joy Fowler, who most people know as the author of the Jane Austen book club.
All right, tell us about this one. We're showing that on screen there.
It's a really interesting story. There's a huge twist in the middle of it, so I can't say too much, but it's the story of a woman called Rosemary who's looking back at her younger family life. She had a sister and a brother, and when their sister was taken away from them, the family life disintegrated. But there's something very special about her sister that's not really revealed until about page 77 of the book, so lips are sealed.
And do you see a big difference now in the styles of writing, say, with the Americans coming in recently?
Yeah, and you see a huge shift of themes as well, because sometimes, obviously, Indian writers write about things that might be very specific to Indian culture, where the Americans has kind of broadened it out a little bit. So yeah, you get a huge swathe of different characters and themes and all that sort of stuff.
You're a huge reader, Maura.
Well, I'm not a huge reader, but you know what I am? I'm a very intolerant reader. I know this sounds terrible, but I'm probably like a lot of people out there. All of us are, I suppose, pressed for time. Like if I pick up a book and I feel after a couple of chapters, and maybe I don't stay with it, maybe I'm not good at sticking, but I mean, just before we came on, we were talking about The Book Thief, which is a renowned book, and you were saying it's a movie now. I thought it was the most horrendous book. I actually had to put it down. I couldn't read it.
I think it was published initially 10 years ago, and it's still one of our strongest sellers year on year. It's absolutely huge, and the film again boosted its profile this year. So,
say when a book goes to film, then how big a jump then does the book sales go after it becomes a film?
It's amazing. Sometimes when a really successful book is published and we get the new film tie-in edition, we go like, who's left to buy the book? The Da Vinci Code. Who's left to buy it? And yet every time the film comes out, the book sells thousands and thousands and thousands.
I thought it would be the opposite, really. Okay, there's the movie. Okay, I don't have to read. I'm just going to go and sit down for 2 hours and watch it.
I suppose the book is different. You can never find everything I get. Like, for example, my sisters have both read. They're addicted, is the word now, to Game of Thrones. Okay, addicted. But they watched the box sets, and it's the only book ever that they said that was actually as good as. But mostly they leave out a lot. But you're talking about movies there. This one here, Us, isn't that by the same author as One Day?
One Day, David Nicholls. This is the follow-up to One Day, which is an absolutely huge bestseller for us. A really interesting story on this one. It's about a couple who've recently moved to the country with their son, and the wife is always hearing noises at night. This is kind of the first chapter, and she shakes him awake one evening, and he goes down to check if there's burglars in the house, and he comes back and he says, there's no burglars downstairs. And she says, I didn't say anything about burglars. I said our marriage is over. And he says, well, at least there's no burglars. But the story is that they go off on a month-long trip to Europe with their son, and this is the time that the husband says, right, it's time that we need to save our marriage, and he works on that. So he's a hugely popular author, really, really funny, really accessible book, and I think this is going to be one of our biggest ones for Christmas.
Great. So One Day is the one that Anne Hathaway was in.
Yes.
So what did you think of that book, One Day? Because I don't know, a lot of people said the movie was just okay.
I think the book was great. It was a really interesting idea, and once again, it was like two characters that you really kind of fell in love with and fell out of love with as well at the same time. So I think this one is just going to be as big as One Day.
There's loads of people raving about Gone Girl, again, because the movie's out at the moment. Lots of people are talking about it.
That's just been a phenomenon for us in the last couple of years. Really, really well written, and just a great twist in the middle of it.
Remind us of the plot.
The plot, it's about a marriage that's gone sour, but that's kind of an understatement, to be honest with you. But it's about
kind of War of the Roses type marriage.
It's about a couple, and the wife disappears in mysterious circumstances on their 5th anniversary, and then the police are involved, and then it's kind of like, is the husband involved in it or not? So the film is just out with Ben Affleck and Rosamund Pike. So a fantastic book, and people have just, again, it's the kind of thing that people see the film time come out and they go, I always meant to read that book, so they pick it up and
again, #1 bestseller, you know, you can see. Tell us a little bit, just again, the short list, of course, that maybe the books that you might think that might win this year. What do you think?
The one I've picked out that I think could be a real dark horse is a Tasmanian author, Richard Flanagan, who's written a book called The Narrow Road to the Deep North.
Did you just give him the kiss of death there now?
I think I might just have jinxed him, this is a really moving book. It's based on his own father's experiences in World War II when he was a Japanese prisoner of war, and he worked on the Burma Railway that they were building. Really poignantly, his father died on the day he finished the book, so there's a really strong personal story to it. But it's been getting absolutely rave reviews all over the world, and I think it's one to watch.
Yeah, so he's our #1. You think?
I think.
Okay, it might be worth
I do feel that from
Doy not being a betting man. Doy's going to make a fortune on this. I can just see it straight away. I'd be like, oh, I wonder, should I read it? I'll be like, I wonder how much money I get.
It's worth the tenner of the book, isn't it?
I would have thought so, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Cecelia Ahern, this is a book you're recommending, and this is a book that's doing well for you.
Yeah, it's doing really well. It's just out recently, but a very, very strong author for us always. Cecilia's been writing books now for 10 years. It's hard to believe.
I know it is, but she's so young when she started.
So young when she started, yeah. But a really nice new package on this one for her, and a really strong story about two people who have lost their jobs recently, coming from very different kind of paths of life, and it follows them over a year as their friendship develops. So a really, really strong one from her.
Yeah. We've had a lot of authors because we had a great competition here last year on the show. We've interviewed a lot of authors, all different genres on the show, and we always kind of ask them about plots or different things or what their strong is. What do you think right now is the big thing? We went through the vampire stage. What is the big plot now that readers go for?
Well, a lot of the plots that we've seen in recent years have kind of started in young adult fiction. So you've got the dystopian stuff. So people, obviously, as you said, Twilight was the big one. Then The Hunger Games was the next. So I don't know. Maybe After Ganga, Marital Strife is the new one, and David Nicholls. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's so varied. But I think it's always the key to just a really strong, catchy hook to any book, and regardless of what the bigger story is, people will just fly into it.
We're so lucky when you think about the amount of writers we have here in Ireland. Rodney Doyle, he was the main man for so long, and then
previous Booker Prize winner.
Over the past few years, you have they just keep coming out. All the people we hear last year, they were coming week after week and thinking, oh my God, these are all great books. And
we were dipping into, I suppose, an area of young adults, which is so big in Ireland, and there are such great authors as well. But, you know, we said Roddy Doyle there. Of course, we had John Banville, a former Booker Prize winner.
And Anne Wright, who won for The Gathering, so I think Irish writers won it 3 out of 4 years.
That's very good for a small little country.
It's not too badly.
I think we should start writing ourselves with 50,000 sterling, right? And we can back ourselves in the bookies to win it.
There you go.
Stephen, thank you very much
for coming in.
And of course, there's more information on all these books we were chatting about today on easons.com, and also, Maura, Easons are giving us all these books and a lot more as well.
Absolutely,
so
which will be brilliant. Yeah, and all you have to do to get your paws on one of these, or all of these, I should say, books, is go to our Facebook page. That, of course, is RTE Today. Like our Facebook page and share the Easons post. Now, Stephen is going to be back with us again next week. We're discussing biographies, and which would be great. Actually, a lot of those great ones coming out. We're also going to have interviews with Shane Filan and also Majella O'Donnell.
They're all great Christmas presents as well, Maura.
Well, it's always this time of the year people always release.
We're not allowed to talk about Christmas yet.
No.
Anyway.